All right, everybody. Gonna do a little quick video here of me painting in a drawing I did years ago. I think this might be Vanessa Hudgens. I'm not totally sure. Some paparazzi photo, and I used to draw a lot on Instagram. Jeremy, the photo guy, on Instagram, and I would do these things so I could kind of get better at my drawing. And so I just had a basic outline here, no color, maybe a little bit of shading. And so I thought, well, this looks kind of crappy. I'm a little better at coloring in things these days, so let me try it out and see if I could try my hand at trying to do a little shading here and trying to make it look cool. So really what I'm doing here is kind of a large synthetic. I've been using synthetic flat brushes a lot these days. It seems to work pretty well for me. I'll change the size of it. I'll leave the flow and the strength the same, but I'll change the size of it and try to go in and do like a little tiny, just a very basic layer here. I'm always the type that likes to do my coloring underneath my outline. So you can kind of see I've got a background layer, a colored layer, and then my top layer is my little outline. And I also have a tendency to do kind of a cartoonish style, thick lines. I really like lines. I really like drawing lines and drawing figures. I'm not so. I like doing coloring and stuff, but I'm just never very good at it. So, and it's also a little bit more time consuming, of course. The anytime you're not good at something, it takes you longer to get it done than when you are good at something. So, a quick little thing like this actually turned out okay for me, and it took me like 25 minutes to get it done. And it's honestly, it's probably not going to be perfect as far as like the the proportions and stuff are a little bit off. But like I said, I drew this like probably 5 years ago, maybe. And I'm just not getting around to coloring it in because I just thought, well, it's done. One of these days I might color it in or try it, and you just get off on other things, and you don't really want to go back and rehash something you've already done. And then I was looking at all these old drawings, and I thought, well, maybe I should color this in. It looks kind of plain, just a black and white outline. So let's try to do some stuff in here. And the cool thing about the synthetic brushes is that once you paint it on top of another color, it kind of smears a little bit. So it is kind of like doing kind of a wet on wet sort of paint. So that's kind of cool. I'm using Autodesk Sketchbook in case no people out there don't recognize the program. It's kind of neat. They have different type of brushes you can download. But anyway, here I am just trying to like add in a little bit of these dark shadows. I kind of like the smushed in look, but I also kind of like the fact that some of those shadows, like on her right leg, are kind of hard lines, just like on her back hip. Those are kind of hard lines, and then it kind of fades into like a kind of a soft sort of shadow on the side of her hips and the side of the left leg. So hopefully I can kind of blend some of this in. And I'm using a kind of a darker color. I'm using the Copic, I believe is the colors, how you pronounce it. Copic, based on the markers, I guess. I could be wrong about that. I probably am. So here I am just going in with some shading, going in really kind of a little darker. You could go in and add a little bit of light around the edge and do some little highlights and stuff, but I'm just going to very basically go over this and try to blend in some shadows and stuff. It's always kind of sad whenever you do something like this and you look at it right now and think, it's actually not bad. This is okay right at this. It's kind of got the shadows where it's supposed to be. The legs are, the bottom calf on the left is a little bit not too great. The left ass cheek's not bad. It looks pretty decent. The back looks pretty good. The hips look pretty decent. I'm trying to build myself up here a little bit so I can, kind of focus on the positive aspects of it as opposed to the negative aspects. Here I am trying to find a darker value that kind of doesn't. I need some high contrast little shadows here, but I don't want something that looks out of place with the rest of the colors. You kind of got that clayish brown sort of shadows, and then you've got the skin tone there, the peach skin tone. None of those are really accurate to the model on the left, but it kind of does a little bit. At least it kind of I don't know. Here I'm going in with like a little tiny brush, trying to add in just some little highlights here, or darker highlights. I guess it's the opposite of a highlight. A little darker, little shading in here and there. I kind of want to add some depth because there's a darker shadow on her right arm than the rest of the shadow that kind of goes underneath the arm. And there's some other stuff here on the back and things that are. I kind of want to get those shoulder blades and stuff and the spine and kind of make it all look a little bit more depth to it. All right, we're going to skip ahead. Well, not skip ahead. We're going to kind of fast forward over this part a little bit. It's not that it's boring or anything. It's just I'm talking a lot about stupid stuff like shadows, so that gets boring. I mean, really, anything you do, I get a little afraid that I'm going to mess something up worse than what it is already. And so you're almost kind of afraid to do anything but just add little lines here and there. The smushy part, I think I kind of like that now. I kind of want to just go in with a little bit of dark details. Right now, I'm just kind of finding a decent color for the bathing suit. I'm not going to do the same design and all that crazy stripes or whatever. I'm just going to go in here with the very basic, pink color, like your typical pink swimsuit type of deal. And it looks good, I think. That color of pink looks good with the brown, so it all is all kind of complementary of each other. Here I am just trying to, because since there's so many shadows, since there's so many wild colors on the bathing suit, it's kind of hard to see where the shadows are on the bathing suit with the wrinkles and stuff in the fabric. So I'm having to just kind of make up what I think it would look like, and just kind of guesstimate. And a few more times I'm going to go through here and kind of add in a little shading around the bathing suit to kind of give it a little bit more depth. Right now I'm just trying to make the legs look a little bit more. Some of that looks really good. Some of that I'm not so happy with. One thing I really do need to learn, a couple of nights ago I was drawing something and I realized I need to stop once in a while, take a look and say, okay, that looks pretty cool. That doesn't look so cool. What does not look good about this? How do you fix this little section? Just stay on one little section. I have a tendency to do like the hummingbird style where I was on the back of the calf, then I'm on the back of the back, and now I'm on the back of the arm, and here in a second I want to do some shoulders, and then I want to jump over here and maybe do like a left foot or something. You know what I mean? It's like I'm all over the place. And it kind of makes sense because it's like I'm working up to down, then I work down. It's like I kind of have to go over the whole thing with just layer after layer after layer of little kind of shading so it all kind of slowly kind of takes shape as it's supposed to. Of course, here I am going with kind of a grayish color. It probably looks more gray because of the the pencil lines on top are going to contrast with this gray and kind of make it look like she has gray hair. But I'll go back in here in a minute and add some darker hair. Some little lines, little hairlines to kind of make it look like it's flowing with the wind. Yeah, now I'm just going to add in a little bit. I kind of hate to get into the really black stuff because then I'll want to outline the body with the black, because that's kind of what I like to do. It'd be nice one of these days to get to the point where I don't really need the outline anymore. I paint over it and the outline is gone. Here I'm going to kind of add in, I'm kind of bored with the body, so, and I know I'm not finished with it yet, but I kind of want to I'm kind of bored, so I kind of want to paint in the background here real quick and just see kind of what I can do. And this is also on another layer. This layer is underneath the layer of the coloring on her body. The whole thing about doing digital stuff is it kind of makes it where you can kind of go in and just add in these different layers, and if it sucks or if you make a mistake, you can hit undo, or you can color over it, or you can delete it, or you can change the opacity in case you need to kind of add in a little different color here and there. And so right now I'm not really accurately trying to put sand dunes or little sand hills in the ground. I'm really just trying to get some texture here with this big synthetic brush. Still using the exact same brush. In fact, I don't think I changed the brush the whole time. I just changed the size of it depending on what I was doing. I really like the idea of using one or two brushes and figuring out how they work so that I can get better at doing the coloring of stuff and texture, so I feel like sometimes I'm searching around too much for different brushes and things, and it's like, stick with one or two and learn how they work. And right now I'm just adding in, and I know because I like the texture of it and I kind of like the color, but I know that's too much white in the sand. So once I get kind of the texture the way I want, and I'm not really caring about the overlap on the body color coming over the sand, I can erase that later. I just kind of want to make this look sort of like a textury sand sort of thing, and just get a little bit of color in the background so we can give some depth there. It's kind of nice when you see those little lines coming from her body. It kind of gives you a little bit of depth. It's like she's standing in front of something finally, instead of just a white background. You know what I mean? And I think after this, we're going to do another layer here, and then I'm going to go with the lighter color. Still trying to keep with this brownish, grayish sort of color. I don't know what you call it. It's kind of beige, but almost like a grayish beige color. Now I just go in with these light parts underneath, and it's going to make some of the darker parts darker, which is kind of nice. And really darken up the whole thing a little bit. Maybe too much. Maybe I should have went in with a little bit of highlights there, or an eraser or something, and take a little bit of that out, or maybe not do so much. But again, those are the things you learn once you watch it back again, or whenever you realize, take the advice of stop once in a while, take a look at it, then kind of say, oh yeah, I'm kind of messing up here. Again, once you get better at it, then you'd notice that in real time and say, oh yeah, I'm adding too much. I'm adding too much dark here. I either need to come in with some highlights later, or I need to not totally try to fill this all in with this color. I mean, it's not bad. It's getting a little bit too plain Jane right now. But we'll add a little shadows here and there on her, coming from her body, and that'll kind of help give that depth back. And if I'd been thinking some of this part right here, I might have done on a different layer so I could change the opacity, and that way I'm adding in some color, but I can also change how much of it I want after the effect after the fact. Yikes! It's tough to speak words. So anyway, yeah. So now here I am going in, just adding in some more color, some more color, some more color. That's kind of a nice 3/4 sort of composition on the background. You can see about a third of it is going to be a different color. I'm going to kind of go in with the greens. Right now I'm kind of adding in this, I'm going to add a little shadow here on the sand. And really, I'm not going in really in depth here, but if I wanted to, I could purposely go in and try to add some darker spots with the lighter spots, because that's how it is on the sand. It's not just a flat area. You know, the sand is all bumpy. So part of the sand is going to be really dark or darker, and some of it's not so much darker. So, and I try to hint at that a little bit as I was doing it, but you know. Here I am, just gonna add a little bit of darkness. I could have probably actually added the shadows. I didn't want to do any of the clutter of the whatchamacallit. I didn't really want to add the clutter of the lounge chairs and other lawn ornaments. Yep. And so here I am just adding a little bit of dark, which I probably shouldn't have done. I probably should have just went in with the light over the sand as opposed to try to make it darker. And this sort of greenish color to me looked like it was a nice, but it was a little bit on the darker side, but it was a nice complementary color to some of the other beige and even the swimsuit. And that may be a thing that in the future I might want something a little bit more obviously not so complementary, you know, something that's a little bit bigger. So I'm sorry, not bigger, but brighter or more contrasty. So it's like, oh, it really sticks out. That swimsuit really sticks out, or the hair really sticks out, or whatever. Yeah, we're just trying to give a little texture here to this sort of what would be the grass area, and I'm not going to go in with all the different. Sometimes in the past I've tried to do like a texture with the grass with little dots and try to do like little pointillism type little dark spots and light spots to kind of make it look like there's some grass texture there, but then it never looks right the way I do it. So now that I've done just a little bit of highlights, I'm going in with the darker stuff here. Again, I probably could have done some like fake shadows from something, or been a little creative and just made my own little thing, like a little, I don't know, like some shoes or something laying in the grass, or some other little, like like some little picnic basket or something, then have that, a little shadow from that in the background, either on the sand or the grass. You know, I guess you could even do like part of a person or something laying there, or a foot. Yeah, so now I'm just kind of going in to add a little bit more shadows in the bathing suit. Since I don't know exactly what it looks like because I kind of made it up, I'm just trying to add in some of the shadowy parts so it kind of blends in with the shadowy parts on the body. This is where I'm going. I'm just trying to erase some of the mistakes there where I kind of went over the lines on her body just to make it look a little bit more professional. There are some things I really wish I would have changed on this now that I rewatch it, but I'm kind of glad that I didn't. What am I doing here? Oh, this is where I go in with the hair. I want to go on another layer. I want to go on another layer here and add in some dark, streaky sort of hair blowing around and kind of darken that up a little bit so there's some contrast there. And it might end up being a little bit too much. That's where you probably would want to go in and maybe do a little bit of dark little outlines here and there on the body and the leg. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here in a minute. Spoiler alert, I'm going to, once I finish all this, I'm now going to go ahead and go and add in little marks around her body to kind of make it fit a little bit better. Here I am going with the slightly smaller brush. I think this is like a, I think they call it a felt, not the felt tip. What is it? It's the calligraphy pen, I believe, or the calligraphy brush. So really, really fine, but very hard lines. You know, just to come in here and add some little hair coming from the edge of her shoulder. And then I'll draw some because it's going to kind of be blowing off the hair there. And from the part, kind of have a little hair action going there. And then we're going to kind of go in just a little bit on some of these places. I didn't do it all over the body because I'm actually trying to get away from that, like I said before. But it kind of makes sense to kind of go in with some of these little areas and outline it a little bit so it looks a little bit more nicer. Probably should have went in a little bit lower with the bathing suit and some of the other stuff to kind of make it look a little bit better. But overall, I'm happy with this. I mean, it looks pretty decent considering it was kind of a spur of the moment type of deal.